Recording is on.
All right, hey all, this is Wallet Scrutiny Call number 8. Today's topic are expert opinions. I think that's one of the topics. So I worked on those designs, created a video, shared it a few days ago, got some feedback. Everyone's invited to share their thoughts. But what other topics do we need to cover today? What's on everyone's minds?
I don't have, I've only today, I finished my usability tests for the website 2 days ago. So I'm now summarizing, I'm going through all of the videos, I'm doing the transcripts. So I don't have any feedback yet about the usability tests because I'm still going through them, but I will have feedback about that next week.
Okay, cool. What else is going on? Anything else on the wallet page that's design? Or
and things that came up about more structured feedback. I don't know if you already tried something out, but I always had the plan to do more structured feedback on the opinions plugin, and just not for the first iteration. So it was worth mentioning that is something that should come later. So it's not so easy to just sort everything by the general sentiment, but maybe we can still have the general sentiment and the more detailed questions answered.
Yeah, I got some direct feedback on Twitter from someone who said that they used to have a wallet review website, and that this type of structure is extremely important to create feedback. Well, obviously structured feedback that can then be, I guess, evaluated somehow, so people don't just enter some random opinions, but they can choose like I want to rate this on privacy factors. I want to rate this on, I don't know, potential of theft factors or so. Yeah. So that was that extra feedback there. And of course, yeah, that people will try to game the system, but I think that is the case with any system that we create.
No, but that's why we want accreditation, so we don't have.
People will try to game that too.
No, yeah, of course, but I think we can handle it as we go, and so there is, of course, the idea of Nostr is having it completely open. So if people want to spam it and want to create a million opinions on one subject, they probably might do that. But we have the control over the accredited reviews, and we can always filter. So
yeah, so that's a good question. Let's start with accredited opinions. So if we look at the design here, I put in 2 tags. One is approved reviewer, and one is developer. I don't know if they're the same one. I just put them in, right? So the question is for, let's say I'm here, I'm the developer of this wallet. I see a comment that I don't think is great. I'm not accredited yet. How do I contact the team? How do I know?
How do I
realize that even? Yeah.
So the idea is that all the interactions are possible as accredited or not accredited user. And so you can write your reviews, you can write your replies and everything. And as soon as you get accreditation, whatever way that is, all this feedback you gave already will get the accredited status because it's linked to your account. So to get accreditation, we were thinking about different ways to get it either anonymized or not anonymized. Yeah. So if there would be theoretically a way to have a company, for example, a wallet provider, request an accredited account, and then they could send us an encrypted message containing one Nostr identity. We would sign that encrypted message to with an accreditation, and they could then unencrypt it, and the signature would also get unencrypted in the same way, such that so that not even us would be no, not even we would be able to match the signature to the account that then later gets used as an accredited user. That is something for version 2 or 3 or something, if it
Okay.
would make sense. The problem is,
Yeah.
how will feedback work if all the people are completely in the open? So if the accounts are wallet providers, which for me are the most obvious experts on wallets, um, what would they do if others attacked their product? Would they retaliate legally, or would they make
Yeah.
noise by commenting on the other guy's product? Or what would happen if this all was not anonymous? And if it is just slightly anonymous, if, for example, people would have to trust wallet scrutiny that those users are accredited,
Yeah.
but we still have the list of, okay, that user is actually that wallet. Yeah. How would people trust us to not inflate the number of accounts? Yeah. Because in
Yeah.
this more complex scheme where we sign, we could say, okay, these 50 wallets requested accredited accounts, and here is 50 accounts. We cannot tell you which one is which, but these are the 50 accredited accounts. Yeah,
Yeah.
this would be possible, and I think I could do it. I found the tools to do so, and I don't know if it is necessary. I don't know if it is worth it. But on the other extreme, it would be nice to know the affiliation of every expert. Yeah, because yeah, being praised by an expert is nice, but if it's by the actual provider of the product, it's kind of obvious and might be not worth considering. Yeah. And
Yeah.
of course, it would be nice to additionally have accounts that answer to expert opinions on behalf of the providers. So maybe we have every provider has an anonymous expert account and a public account for replying to expert opinions. Yeah, that would also be a possibility. Yeah,
I
but
will.
Okay. Can we, so in very practical terms, there are two things that just stood out to me. So one is, I mentioned it here. There's a link at the top, view our guidelines. I think that page is also should have the information about the accreditation. So
yes,
that is likely a completely new page on the website. It's called like Expert Opinions Guidelines or something, big title. And then a bit like the methodology page, it's just kind of this big long write-up about what type of content is wished for, and where the lines are where people basically just get banned or hidden or whatever. I assume there's some stuff also like muted words. As people start cursing, it's just never going to show up at all, to not give it any visibility. And then there are some finer lines here, like people like trolling is sometimes very difficult to figure out, like is that somebody intentionally, or is it just unintentionally someone just kind of comes across in a weird way or so. How those situations are handled. And then there could be a section like how to apply for accreditation, and that could be either make sure you get 10 really good comments and send us the public key, so that way you can put them some type of proof of work or so, that you kind of established yourself a little bit. You've put in some effort instead of starting from scratch, just getting accreditation without any prior effort. So that's all kinds of stuff to figure out. I think it would be good to start writing the content for that guidelines page,
Yeah.
for a first version. The other thing that I was wondering about is, there's this, by default, email providers, they just show you everything that comes in, pretty much, with some spam filtering. Then there's this other service called Hey, where basically your inbox is empty by default. and then you kind of have I don't know what it's called, holding cell. I don't know what it's called, but basically you have to grant permission to anyone that you want to go into your inbox. So it's not instantly filled up. And if you don't give people permission, they'll just be forever in that holding spot, or you can ditch them completely. So I was wondering if this comment system could kind of work like that by default. If you have two tabs, you have one that is like everything has to be approved in some way, and you can whitelist a public key, you can whitelist an individual comment or something like that. So instead of letting the whole flood in and trying to remove things, basically starting with a clean slate and you know.
Now, I certainly want to have experts that I kind of trust, where I say, okay, those
Yeah.
are providers, and whatever they write, I let it be shown on the website immediately, and it's
Yeah.
kind of
It's like a contact whitelist.
it's a vetted author, so those vetted
Yep.
authors I want to be free to post. And
Mhm.
for all the rest, I want to get to where they would not be visible by default, but where
Yeah.
people can in some way find those
Yeah.
reviews too. Maybe not even on the website. So I'm thinking of, I mean, the widget as it is currently being developed is open source and not under the umbrella of Wallet Scrutiny. So it would be a
Okay.
widget that you could use for whatever, for car reviews or whatever, and or for forum posts, and you can comment on forum posts or whatever, and and then if that would evolve and be used by many websites or developers, it could result in dedicated tools that are just
Yeah.
to investigate this. And so if I would have a button like, do you want to see all the reviews? Go to dedicatedtool.com slash this and this Android wallet, and then you would see all the comments there, and
Yeah.
nothing about our accreditation, and it would be completely Wild West.
Yeah. Okay.
Somebody's very nice.
I just
What's Go ahead.
Now, I had a question on this accreditation point that Christoph made. I definitely agree, like that there should be a separate bit of copy created, a page that is. I made some notes here explaining how the accreditation works. So, if they how they get actual accreditation, and then the second point is how they would apply for accreditation, and then it's that second point that Christoph made about how to apply for accreditation. I was just wondering your thoughts on how do we invite people on the UI side of things, on the visual side of things, to apply for that accreditation? What are your thoughts on that? How can we do that?
I think we would start out without any accredited users, of course, but at some point it would be necessary to switch on the accreditation by default. So users would create opinions, and maybe it would be, I hope it would not be mostly garbage. I hope the first opinions would be something uh, productive, yeah. And then when we would switch to not showing the unaccredited users by default, then they would ask them, "Oh, where did my opinion go?" And yeah, we didn't know it was you. Yeah, we'll add you to the list, and people would want their opinion to be seen. So why else would they write it? Yeah. So as soon as there are some that are accredited, others would also strive to be accredited, and the process to get accreditation can be any means of getting their Nostr identity into the project, and it's probably a JSON file. It's just a list of keys, and to get it added, that can be a. If we want it more anonymous, then it can be a message to one of the developers, contributors to Wallet Scrutiny, or it could be a pull request by the expert himself,
Yeah.
or if the user is not so technical, then yeah, any means of contacting the team, like, hey, I want accreditation, should be good enough until we um, develop something more sophisticated with anonymization.
So you're saying, just to summarize, everyone would almost automatically get that accreditation, but then they, how could you say?
No,
Um,
not automatically. I mean, they would, of course, have to show why they should get accreditation. So,
yeah,
why are you an expert? Yeah, do you work in the field?
yeah.
Yeah, I would not anonymously, without any background, give
Give them the
people
status. Yeah,
the accreditation. Anonymously, in the sense that I don't want to see their passport. Yes.
yeah.
So, if they are a contributor to some wallet project, I would happily. I mean, I would love to give all the wallet developers in the world an accreditation. Yeah, I am not sure if that is good as soon as we start ranking by opinion, because there is teams that are bigger and lone developers, and maybe it should be like one voice per team. Yeah, so maybe we should store the affiliation and say, okay, on and not give the 20 developers of this wallet 20 voices to download other products. Yeah, but currently that's not a problem. Currently, I think it would be nice to have as many as possible that are actually wallet developers. Yeah, and when that turns into a problem, we can start to group them by affiliation and say, okay, we all the whatever Blockstream developers, they are considered like one expert. And so if they all agree that Blockstream Green is the best wallet in the world, and somehow they join Wallet Scrutiny and others don't, then it might skew the picture. But if we group them and it's just summarized as 20, if I divide their opinions by 20, and then it gets fair again. Yeah.
And this is what Christoph has created. I have a question in line with what he's just created, because he's created this, the content guidelines and the accredited reviewers. Do we also want to let people know what type of criteria they would need to have to be accredited? So what would those criteria be, for example?
Good question. I would love to have it as open as possible.
Hmm.
Uh, But I mean, as long as we would show them, as long as we would not anonymize stuff, I don't think there is a need for very strict criteria, like you need to have a university title in the field or something. Yeah. Um, my criteria that would automatically qualify somebody would be a commit or a GitHub commit to some open source Bitcoin wallet. Yeah. If
Hmm.
you contributed to any Bitcoin wallet, then yeah, you might not be an expert by every definition. Yeah, but then you are at least a peer Bit, Bitcoin wallet developer. Yeah, and that should be the bar, I think. And then there might be others that are investigating wallet security, but they don't contribute to Bitcoin wallets. I don't know. I don't know if we would need some voting on those users if we want to uh, I don't know, open this to debate, or who should have the last say about who is an accredited opinion haver. I don't know. Uh, but those commits at GitHub, yeah, that's the easiest way to verify also.
So basically, just the GitHub commit, and that's pretty much the basic. If they have made a commit on GitHub to an open source Bitcoin wallet, then they would automatically be accredited.
Yeah, they would automatically qualify to be
Yeah.
accredited.
Okay.
We could also automate the accreditation a little bit because we have a lot of Bitcoin wallet repositories, and we could allow for expert uh, um, for peer developer accreditation. We could search for a certain file. So if the wallet X is stored in our database as, okay, that's wallet X slash Android app, and then we could say, okay, if there's a file slash nosterexpert.json, then we pull the string from there. Then the wallet developer could, in his own repository, put the Noster key, and then our project would query that from the project. But I'm not sure if that's good when we want to then blacklist that user, or people might put like hundreds of keys there or something. So I think accreditation will be a bit of uh, a manual process, and until we develop more of a routine and have a better picture of who is acquiring accreditation, or who wants accreditation. And once we know that, we can maybe automate it a bit.
Well, let's hand it over to Christoph. He's come up with something really brilliant here. So
No, that's a chat GPT. I asked it to write some guidelines and stuff. It makes no sense. Don't take that copy serious. But it's like, if you kind of close your eyes, squint a little bit, it kind of looks like it might be real. But no, I just wanted to have like something filled in there. I mean, it's this page looks super boring, but it's kind of meant to be that way. Maybe it can be a little bit more friendly. So Leo, would you be able to write that document with mechanisms like so I can paste some real copy in there?
I could edit it there. So
Yeah.
the Google document may be easier for you. I mean, we could just copy
no,
it over into
I can
Google.
work in Figma. That's no problem. I
Great.
think I should have write permission there already.
Let me see. Oh yeah. You have now.
It's reloading.
Yep. Just get information. So feel free, whatever's most comfortable for you for writing, feel free to just change everything in there. But yeah, I think that would be helpful. And then the expert opinions widget itself, the other pages, they don't really need. They can just link out to the guidelines, and that's it, right? All this logic is kind of self-contained somewhere else on this separate page. So who is? I wasn't aware that this commenting widget is being developed somewhere else. Can you maybe link to that? Or
Oh yeah,
who's doing that?
no, it's I paid a developer to do this,
Mhm.
and he came up with something that I also already shared to try out. Let me get the
Yeah, I
link.
remember the very first version that we looked at, maybe even before Christmas. Because if someone's developing it, then maybe I also need to be in contact with them about some of the design details and whatnot, or if they have
No,
questions.
I paused the contract with them. They were
Okay.
quite expensive, and
Yeah.
they billed for stuff they didn't work on even. So
That's lame.
yeah, I was not so happy with some detail. But I'm not sure. Maybe I was. I mean, I don't have anybody else who's better or cheaper. So
Yeah.
they were not bad. So I like the code. I find it that they got quite some nice implementation there, but details.
Yeah. So okay. So that's a little bit on hold. So we're just going to focus on figuring out the design at the moment, right?
And repository, I can also.
Christoph, this
Oh yeah, I see it. Nice. That looks pretty good.
Oh, I didn't see that. The guidelines, you mentioned that they would maybe create an entire new page
Yeah,
about these guidelines, for the content, and then this basically this design that you've come up with. Do you then see that as being sort of like a tab here, just at the top, just as there is a methodology tab as well?
it's probably enough to put it in the footer. I don't
Just in the
think it needs
footer,
to
yeah.
be a top level thing. So it could be linked to at the top of community opinions there. View our guidelines. Maybe we want to repeat it when someone creates their first post. I don't know if we can register that, if we can detect that. Like somebody registers, then posts. Maybe
Yeah.
we want them to, before we submit it, say like, hey, have you made sure to read our guidelines or whatnot? And then just have it in the footer. That's probably enough.
Okay. All right.
I mean, we can have a commitment to the guidelines in the Nostr message, so
Yeah,
we can request that the profile has to mention um, guidelines accepted, whatever. Yeah. So if it doesn't mention that, then something's not okay. But that's I don't know how much that is worth, and I think people will step outside of the guidelines, and we will have to remind them, and it
it's
will
going to be
need
messy.
some kind
Yeah.
of moderation. But yeah, I want some drama. I want some noise on it. That's
Are you
why I want.
sure? Are you sure you want drama?
Yeah, a bit, because if everybody's just, oh yeah, there's 4,000 wallets, they're all wallets, and so it's all a wash.
Yeah.
So if people start calling out other products about stuff that they are doing better, then I think it will produce some friction,
Yeah.
and I hope this spills over into Twitter and into the broader Nostr space. I'm not yet sure exactly how to implement it to have it spill over into the Nostr social
Yeah.
clients. But I have some ideas, and I proposed something for. Wait a second. Oh, and yeah, we'll figure it out. And I think it's great to have the content at some point, and to link that content to other mechanisms is something that can always be done, and it's just that
Mhm.
it's work to do it. So yeah.
Okay. So you'd like some pragmatic competition there, not necessarily drama.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I don't want
Oh,
Wall
yeah.
Scrutiny to be the subject of the drama. Yeah,
Yeah.
I want that people call out certain wallets, and then the wallet to defend
Yeah.
their position, and then they should fight, and I hope it spills over to Twitter, and then I hope people say, oh, but where's the details, and then they find Wall Scrutiny, and yeah, so. Um, I'm more worried about getting the wallets discussed than to get people on wallet scrutiny. I
Yeah.
hope people wake up to the problems that I see with all
Yeah.
those wallets.
That's the
And
big mission.
yeah, and for that,
Mhm.
I think drama can help, because currently nobody cares about reproducibility. Even reproducible wallets don't put it onto their website that they are reproducible. It's
Yeah, that's interesting because there was feedback from two other people that I saw, and they're like, I don't understand the word
I
reproducibility.
was just about to touch on that.
And they also, the word binary is something people stumble over. So
Yeah.
I'm really wondering if there's some other way to frame it where people are like, oh yeah, 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 that's important. I get that. You know,
I was
to
wondering
to
the same thing.
remove that blocker a little bit.
Yeah, I was really wondering the same thing as Christoph as well, because I haven't shared my research results yet, but I can tell you that 4 out of the 5 usability tests that I did, they didn't understand what the word reproducibility meant. There was only one person who understood what that meant. Um, and I think to really reach that wider audience and to get more people, as you said, Leo, really appreciating how important reproducibility is, maybe we need to maybe think a little bit about another word that might be a little bit more useful, like a bit more everyday language that they might be able to feel or understand easier. What are your thoughts on
Yeah.
that?
I'm wondering if there's something else we can borrow. It's like, you read stories about, like, there are certain wine labels from, I don't know, California, Napa Valley or so, and they really just buy their wine from Mexico or Canada or somewhere, and then just slap their own labels on. This idea that, you're expecting something, but you're kind of getting tricked. There's like some bait and switch kind of happening. I'm wondering if there's some language there that people might be familiar with from some other realm, that creates the right reaction, and the right, I don't know, that works as a good metaphor.
It's also so that we can get more people to really appreciate how important this is.
Yeah.
So if we use the right language, then they're going to really appreciate how important it is. Just yeah. So
I think that the problem is that this is really a very technical
Mm.
approach. People thought long about how can you, when you have a binary, how can you verify it? So there is
Yep.
those papers from 20 years ago or 30 years ago where this all started with the reproducibility, and uh, I would love people to watch those presentations, but it's not something. But nobody watches 5 minutes or even 50 minutes of presentations. Yeah, so
It has
it
to
could.
involve dancing, maybe, and cats, and then they will.
Okay, how can we
No, no,
get?
stupid idea. Don't go down that route. Yeah, but no, it's
No, but to catch the people, hey, we have a cute cat here, and when they click, then bait and
yeah.
switch. Bait and switch is a problem, guys.
what's like the most basic definition if you were explaining reproducibility to a non-developer, non-technical person? How would you explain it, Leo? Or how would, like, someone they really do not understand this, how would you explain it to them?
um, I, the the source code that's already the first word that the non-technical person doesn't understand. Yeah, uh, so 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 you use an app, and this app uh, has instructions how it should work, and these instructions can be public. Yeah, and so if you want to know what it does, it's nice to see the screen, and but you don't know what it does behind the screen. So you might press a button that says, "Oh, we will not share your keys," but in the background it might be sharing the keys, and this sharing of the keys is something that has to happen because of some instruction it's getting. And if these instructions are all public, yeah, then we are talking about public source code. And so people can review those instructions. And if those instructions all look good, then they assume that the product also is good. But with reproducibility, we establish the link between those instructions and the app that you install on your phone, for example. So I try to avoid complicated words here, but
Yeah,
I don't know if it got much better.
yeah, that's certainly something. When we had the conversation about the homepage, I feel like it's something that we could tackle in the context of the homepage, where we give people a very simple entry point, and then we guide them towards, maybe we can get them to the point where reproducibility and binary makes sense, because we give them some metaphor before that, and that they can work with or so. But I think that's kind of a homepage discussion, framing discussion.
Yeah, I'll make notes here. That's a good one, Christoph.
Yeah.
Metaphor.
But we're about 40 minutes into the call. For the expert opinions, and again, do you need anything else from the design side right now? Or should we call this okay for now?
Do you want to suggest something for more structured content.
Yes, yeah, that's the one. Okay. And task for Christoph. Do you have any ideas for, is it like instead of one input field, give three, like one privacy, one other, or with like a slider or some some checkboxes to tick, or do you have any thoughts on what would get, what would be good for there?
For example, I heard that it is very good to not have an odd number of options because people gravitate to being neutral. Yeah, so the two options is better than three.
Yeah.
The person on Twitter suggested drop downs with 10 options. Yeah, the 5-star rating is very common. I think we can go with that too. But no, I don't have a strong opinion of how it should look like. Of course, it would be nice to have icons for the different dimensions and a numeric scale for the result. And yeah, 5-star rating is probably the most common, most familiar for people.
Yeah, I mean, something simple. Yeah, I don't know how simple that is, but we want people to think a little bit, right? So I don't know. There could be like a scale, options 1 to 6 or whatever you want it to be, and it's from very private or not very private or no privacy problems and lots of privacy problems or something. You pick one, and then you have to say like, why did you pick what you picked? Very much reminiscent of the survey of yours that I filled out earlier.
Should we have a comment on on each of the dimensions, or should we have just one comment where the expert is free to have a section on each of the dimensions? I thought it would be better to have like one text and not split up by the dimensions. But if we want the expert to have some thoughts on all those dimensions, then it might be better to split it up into one section or into one comment per dimension. And he can only vote on a dimension that he also produces some 10 words, because we don't want unsubstantiated opinions. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Okay. I can mock up a few different variations of that.
Okay.
Cool. Sweet. I don't know how that would be stored within
No, that's my problem with that.
content, but probably some structured JSON in the content file or something like that. I don't even know.
Yeah.
Events or something. But okay, cool. So that's the. Is there anything else for next week or so that we want to do? A first draft of the guideline, community guidelines, and accreditation might be good. If you have that. That might actually be helpful to run it past a few people that you know who are wallet developers, who you'd like their support from, and say, hey, this is what we're thinking about the accreditation system. Do you think this will work? And get them involved before it's even built or rolled out, and get some feedback.
Yeah, that's a good one. Maybe write out that initial text and then share it with us, share it with, as Christoph said, some developers, and then get everyone's feedback on the content.
I should like the website, like the plugin demo page that I shared here in the chat. I guess I can extend that to also contain the guidelines instead of working on Figma. I don't know. Should I do it in Figma better? It would be nicer to get the feedback. I mean, I think it is nicer to just implement it.
Yeah, one benefit of, or what we've seen in the design community a lot is, one reason of using Google Docs for first drafts of things is because it's just so easy to give feedback. People just load the page, they click somewhere, comment, it's done, everyone gets an email. And then after it's in pretty good shape, then move it somewhere else where where it's a little bit more stable, sturdy, whatever,
Yeah.
more structured, when you don't need this really quick iteration anymore. I mean, it's up to you, whatever your writing process, whatever you like to prefer, but that's just one consideration. The ease of giving feedback on things, which on a website is, I can't highlight, a line of text and say, this should really be this or that.
Yeah.
So on Figma, you can comment, but you cannot suggest edits,
No.
right?
You can
And
put them in your comment, right? In
Yeah.
Google Docs, you
Right.
can directly suggest changes, and the author just has to accept them.
Yeah. Okay, we can go do the Google Docs too. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Fill it with ChatGPT and just send it to people. That'd be horrible.
Christoph,
I guess I should do a first
I was also
draft.
wondering, I came up with an idea. Probably, I'm not sure if it's a good idea, if it's a crazy idea, but I commented on the Figma file about some maybe possibly grouping some of the parts of the methodology process. Um, I don't know if that idea is crazy. I kind of just threw it out there because I kind of noticed some groups. What are your thoughts on that?
Grouping of what? I
And
don't know.
Yeah, Christoph will explain.
okay, so we have 2, 4, 6, 8 steps here, basically creating subgroups on those. And I know exactly what Leo, what your comment will be if you see those grouping headers. You will say that
Groupings.
all steps are about security, not just those in the center. Is it right?
Yeah, sure. It's the whole focus is security, of course.
Yeah.
But groupings of what? I mean, where do you want this to go? I mean,
So
the security overview page.
yeah,
Yeah.
let's say there are more headers here in
Yeah,
like somewhere in the header here,
yeah, I understand. Okay.
Mhm.
No, name it security degrades the others as being not about security. So no, that's not good.
So you,
So
yeah,
I mean, it doesn't have to be security. It could be other headers. The basic, I think the general idea is more: can we give people a few more? Do we have to ask them to look at 10 things, or can we give them like an intermediate thing to look at? It's like, oh, here's a group, here's a group, here's a group. I care about this group and not about this group, so I'm going to look at
yeah,
the one
exactly
group.
what Christoph said.
Yeah.
yeah. Privacy is often pulled out of security, where it's secure, but it's not private. Like Ledger might share all your wallet addresses with the Ledger servers. If you use it by default, then okay, you have security because the Ledger is secure, but you don't have privacy because they know exactly what's your address and they know all your Bitcoin addresses. So that's but then privacy also is about security because if Ledger leaks the client list and maybe was if they had done worse and also leaked the wallet addresses, then thieves would know exactly where bitcoins are stored and how many. Yeah. So at least Ledger would have access to that data, and if the government asks for that, then that's probably something people don't want for security reasons, and that's where privacy quickly becomes about security.
They're very intertwined. Yeah.
Yeah. So you think, practically speaking, this is it's just too connected to try to group it.
It's too complex to
Yeah.
just say, oh yeah, this is one thing but not the other. Yeah. So the grouping that you suggested there is build source code developer. That's right. Yeah. But why is application build not under build? And yeah, no, I don't know exactly how to group them better. Yeah. Often the one aspect touches on the other. So if I have a custodial solution, then by law, the custodian has to ask my identity, so it has poor privacy because it is custodial, and only self-custodial solutions are allowed to not ask for your name. And if they still ask for your name, then that's weird. And, yeah.
I mean, the three groupings that I could potentially imagine is the first one, which includes developer, source code, and reproducibility. It's like who writes the code and the point of where the application is compiled. Then
Yeah.
the other one is about what the application actually does. Like
Mm-hmm.
how does it do privacy? How does
How
it
is
do
it
security?
made?
And
How
the
does it
third
work?
one would be like what happens on your device, like your device
Yeah,
itself, how
that's
does it
it.
get on there, how does your operating system do stuff. Those are the three that I could imagine.
Yeah, but okay.
What
So
did you
how
say?
is it made? How is it distributed?
Yes.
And how does it work on your device? Like
How is
maybe
it
that.
made? I know.
How
I
it's
made
made, what
something
it
here.
does, what it actually does, and then what what happens
I
on your
made notes,
device.
Christoph. How is it
I don't know.
made? What the application does, what happens on your device.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
the latter
we could
twos
probably.
are. Yeah,
Sorry.
Yeah.
yeah, the latter twos are kind of the same. Like, what does it do on your device? It's like the same question.
No, I actually think it's more about your device, like the Play Store, your operating system, and your hardware.
Yeah.
Like, and the other one is the device itself. What does it do?
Yeah. Yeah. I understand what Christoph says. So one is like
Yeah.
what the application actually, yeah, it's what the application does and what happens on your device. The device stuff, I'm guessing, would be operating system, smartphone. I'm guessing those two would go underneath there.
How
Mhm.
it's made, how it behaves, and the environment it lives on. That's not very. But maybe we can iterate a
We
little
can
bit on
iterate on
those.
that.
Maybe
But
there's
I,
something there.
I kind of, I was putting myself in the user's shoes, and when I arrive here,
Hmm.
a person's mind is always searching for the most important piece of information. And then when they see all these like 9 points, they're like, I don't know which is the most important thing to me. And it's like it's about giving them a little bit of, it's not saying like this is the most important piece of information. It's saying, well, look, these are the groups, and you can decide which group you want to look at right now. Maybe you want to look at how it's made first. Maybe you want to look at what the application does, and maybe you want to look at what it does on your device. And maybe these things are important to different people. So some people might be more important, it might make more interested in how it's made. Other people might be more interested in what it does on their device, and other people might be interested in how it works. And now seeing Christoph mock it up, it feels really human because I'm like, this is I understand. I understand this language, how it's made, how it works in your device. Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And it,
Leo is not convinced.
Leo is
It's I'm trying to think of analogies, and because usually here we have, for example, we have the signatures. So the file is being made, and then the distribution is in between. It's actually in between, but
Yeah.
the distribution cannot do much because the developer signs it, and the distributor doesn't have a way to modify it before it gets to the device. And of course, the device can ignore the signature if the device is malicious. But I, I don't know how to label groups and why a user would care how it is made. Yeah. When he can care about what it does. Like, can he really judge on what the app does without knowing who makes it or how it is made. Like it's super important how it's made because
No,
some
super
dependency
important.
might modify how it works, and
Yeah.
that's
It's important, I know from your standpoint, Leo, to present all of this information to people in a way that's very unbiased. You want that neutrality. That's also
right.
the black and white thing. But maybe it's also just a little bit appealing to, to get more people really on board with how important reproducibility is. Maybe it's that trying to speak a little bit of their language, and trying to really speak a little bit of their language, but at the same time be like, okay, you have all the information here. We need you to read all of this information to make a good decision. I don't know if that makes sense what I just said.
No, I mean Christoph is playing around there, and I like it. I mean, you would probably want to have those headlines a bit bigger, so people catch them.
Yeah,
But I wouldn't oppose to it. So if it makes the users happy, it's just that the how it works, like yeah, it's gimmicks. I don't know. It's headlines that I
I
get.
mean, it's not, the language can make all the difference.
it's
I mean,
true.
I don't know how much you observe that in politics, for example. Like there's a guy called George Lakoff who wrote a whole book on how people manipulate language. Like there's a
Yeah.
thing called estate tax. Like when you die and
Yes.
you pass on things to your family members, you have to pay
Yeah.
taxes on that. And there's I think the Republicans in the U.S. They were like, estate tax, nobody gets that, nobody cares. Let's call it death tax. Do you like a death tax? Do you think anyone would be in favor of a death tax? No, obviously not. How could you like, we want a death tax? Nobody will say that, right? So you just reframe things in a way that's,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's like, and that's, I mean, it can be used in really horrible ways, and that's not what we're trying to do.
No.
It's more about getting people that entry point where like, oh, how it's made, I get that. Okay, cool. Let's look at the developer, and then they get into the more complex terms.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, reproducibility. Oh, that's how. Okay, that's part of how it's made. Okay, I get that.
I can almost put myself in the user's shoes and be like, if I would arrive at the page and see developer, source code, application build, privacy, I'd be scanning, almost trying to figure out where do I need to look now. I don't know where's my entry point that I need to start investigating. And this maybe just helps people's minds to have an entry point that's maybe, okay, I want to read about how it works, or okay, I want to read. It's almost guiding them to an entry point. Um,
Yeah.
How about we just run it past a few people?
this,
You did your usability tests.
yeah,
We do this another test. We just kind of see what the response is, and we can take that feedback, and we can always make a executive decision whether we feel like, okay, people like it, but we are still not going to give it to them because it's what
yeah,
they call empty calories or whatever it is. It's always an option.
fully agree with Christoph.
Okay.
This is one of the things where I personally would rather rely on feedback than
Yeah,
making a
what we think.
strong statement based on my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with Christoph.
Okay.
Okay, Mo, something else for you to test. Feel free to suggest other titles or so, but
No, I'm down for it. Like I'm gonna focus my next week on wrapping up the usability test, bringing that feedback to the next call, and yeah, that's pretty much it. What do you think we should do as our next steps?
I will certainly work on the over on the how did you call it, expert opinion guidelines. And should I create a Word file, a Google Doc file?
yeah, if you don't like Google Docs, any other tool will work too. I think the key is just making it so that people can very quickly and easily give feedback. That's really the main thing.
I'll see. I like tools that don't require your login to Google, so people that
That's
are
what I
not
assumed. Yeah.
fans of Google can contribute.
Yeah.
I'll create something. Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Sounds good. Cool.
Adam, do you want to stop the recording? I think
Yes.
we're up to the hour now.
Recording.
Thanks. Thanks.